The night he found her, the rain was falling so hard it felt like the sky was trying to erase the world. Daniel Harper had just locked up the small auto repair shop where he worked double shifts, his back aching and his hands smelling of engine oil. Being a single father had taught him how to survive exhaustion. It had not taught him how to ignore the quiet loneliness that waited for him every night after he tucked his 8-year-old son, Noah, into bed. Ever since his wife passed away 3 years earlier, life had been a constant balancing act between grief and responsibility. He almost didn't hear the faint sob over the roar of thunder. At first he thought it was a stray cat, but then he saw her, a small figure curled beneath the flickering streetlight across from his shop. A little girl, no older than 6, soaked to the bone, her tiny hands wrapped around her knees as if she could fold herself away from the world. Daniel didn't hesitate. He crossed the street without thinking, rain plastering his jacket to his skin. Up close, he could see her trembling, her dark hair tangled across her tear-streaked face. She looked up at him with wide, frightened eyes, the kind of eyes that had learned fear too early. He knelt down slowly, lowering himself to her level. His voice was gentle, the way it always was with Noah. He told her she was safe. He told her he wouldn't hurt her. He told her he had a son about her age who loved hot chocolate on rainy nights. She didn't answer at first, but when thunder cracked again, she flinched and instinctively reached for his sleeve. That was all it took. He carried her to his truck, wrapping his own jacket around her fragile shoulders. At home, Noah stared in surprise as his father entered with the mysterious guest, but Daniel simply smiled and said they had someone who needed help tonight. They dried her off, found one of Noah's old sweaters, and sat her at the kitchen table with a warm mug of cocoa. Slowly, between sniffles, she whispered her name, Lily. She didn't know her address. She didn't know her mother's phone number. All she knew was that she had been in a car, there had been shouting, and then she had run. The rest was a blur of rain and fear. Daniel felt a heavy knot form in his chest. He called the local police station and reported finding her, giving every detail he could. They told him officers were searching for a missing child reported earlier that evening. He was instructed to keep her safe until they arrived. Hours passed. Noah eventually fell asleep beside Lily on the couch, the two children curled under the same blanket as if they had known each other for years. Daniel watched them from the armchair, something shifting inside him. He had spent so long surviving for his son that he had forgotten what it felt like to open his heart to anyone new. Then, just after midnight, headlights flooded his small driveway. 2 police cars, and behind them, a sleek black SUV that didn't belong in his modest neighborhood. The woman who stepped out of the SUV looked like she had walked out of a magazine cover, tall, elegant, wrapped in a long cashmere coat despite the rain. But her composure shattered the moment she saw Lily through the living room window. She ran. When the door opened, she collapsed to her knees, pulling Lily into her arms with a desperation that made Daniel look away. The kind of desperation only a mother could carry. Her name was Victoria Laurent. Daniel recognized it vaguely. She was a billionaire tech entrepreneur, often featured in business headlines for building one of the fastest-growing cybersecurity companies in the country. But tonight, there was no trace of the powerful CEO, only a terrified mother. Through tears and fragmented explanations, the terrifying truth unfolded. Victoria had been receiving threats for months, anonymous messages, warnings, demands for access to her company's proprietary technology. She had ignored them at first, believing her security team could handle it. But that evening, someone had attempted to intercept their car while they were returning from a private event. In the chaos, Lily had panicked and fled when the vehicle stopped abruptly. The men weren't random criminals. They were after Victoria. And Lily had nearly paid the price. Daniel felt the weight of the situation crash over him. He wasn't just helping a lost child. He had unknowingly stepped into something dangerous. Police assured them the immediate threat had been contained. The suspects were in custody, but the fear in Victoria's eyes lingered. She turned to Daniel with gratitude so raw it was almost painful. She thanked him for saving her daughter, for keeping her safe, for treating her like family instead of a headline. Daniel shrugged awkwardly. He hadn't done anything extraordinary. He had simply done what he hoped someone would do for Noah if the roles were reversed. But Victoria didn't see it that way. In the days that followed, the story quietly made local news. The single-dad mechanic who rescued a billionaire's child. Reporters tried to sensationalize it, but Daniel avoided the spotlight. He returned to work, packed Noah's lunches, lived his simple life. Until one afternoon, Victoria walked into his repair shop. This time she wasn't dressed like a grieving mother. She was composed, determined. She told him she hadn't just come to thank him again. She had come with an offer. She had investigated his background, not out of suspicion, but curiosity. She had learned about his late wife, about the medical bills, about how he had given up his dream of opening his own garage to cover hospital expenses. She told him she believed in investing in good people. Daniel's pride flared instantly. He didn't want charity. He didn't want to be someone's feel-good story. Victoria surprised him by nodding. She said it wasn't charity, it was partnership. She wanted to fund his dream, a state-of-the-art auto service center that would also offer free training programs for underprivileged teens interested in mechanics and engineering. She said the world needed more men like him, more safe places like the one he had created for Lily in a single night. Daniel wrestled with the decision for weeks. Accepting help felt like admitting weakness. But Noah, wise beyond his years, told him something that shifted everything. He said maybe helping people wasn't just about rescuing them from the rain. Maybe it was also about letting others help you step into the sun. Months later, Harper's community garage opened its doors. It wasn't flashy, but it was alive, filled with young apprentices learning skills, laughter echoing against steel walls, second chances being forged alongside engines. Victoria and Lily attended the opening ceremony. There were no dramatic speeches, just quiet gratitude. Lily hugged Daniel tightly, no longer the frightened child under the streetlight but a smiling girl who had found another protector in the world. Daniel realized something profound that day. He had thought he was the one saving a lost girl. But in many ways, she had saved him too. She had pulled him out of the narrow tunnel of survival and reminded him that his heart was still capable of expanding. That kindness could ripple outward in ways he could never predict. That even the smallest act, crossing a rain-soaked street, could change multiple destinies. Life will test you when you least expect it. It will send storms that feel overwhelming and nights that seem endless. But sometimes, in the middle of that storm, you'll find your purpose waiting quietly under a flickering light. If Daniel had ignored that faint sob, if he had told himself he was too tired, too busy, too broken, none of it would have happened. So tonight, if you're feeling exhausted or unseen, remember this. Your smallest act of courage could become someone else's miracle, and in helping them, you may just rediscover your own strength. If this story touched your heart, don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel for more powerful stories that remind us all, even in the darkest rain, we can choose to be the light.